Okay.
What, let's talk about getting back on the horse here. Let's talk about what going back out on your first dates. What was that like for you? Because I kind of am excited to hear your response to this. Because I know it was a crapshoot for me.
Hello and welcome to the 9th episode of Little Did I Know podcast. I am your host, Stephanie Parks.
And I am your other host, Shauna Zolman Mihaly. Little Did I Know is a place where two friends share our journeys through life, the good and the bad, while never losing our laughter.
If you want to hear more episodes, you can find us at stephandshauna.com or at Little Did I Know on Facebook and Instagram. Okay, everybody, we're going to do fun facts. Are you ready for this one? I actually have two.
This makes my day. My day is already better.
So in the lane of where we are always laughing, and
I'm
if
there.
you have listened, we have, we laugh. And I've had great feedback about you guys laugh and it's so fun. So it's in that. And then the other part of this fun fact is because we are just badass women. Okay. So I want to give you, the premise of where these fun facts come from.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Okay. You're welcome. There are at least 10 recorded cases of people dying from laughter.
Oh, no.
What? Wow. 10 recorded cases.
How does that happen? How do you die from laughter? Breathe, self. Breathe.
I'm super sorry they died. I want to know what were you laughing about? I need to know.
I want to know that. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
What if my reaction was, that was my grandma?
I would have been like,
redo, edit.
I know. Pause. I would have been like, why have you never told me that? But yeah, 10 recorded cases of people dying
That
from
sucks.
laughter.
That really sucks. But in all honesty, that's how I want to go.
Okay,
Number
so
two.
you ready for this other one? This is where it you know what? It's kind of like, yes, of course. So, bulletproof vests, fire escapes, windshield wipers, and laser printers were all invented by women.
Why did you stop there?
I know. I know. But if you think about all of the great things in our life.
Can you
we've done
read those
that.
again? Read those one more time.
Okay. Bulletproof vests. Really?
I
Yeah.
mean, needed.
Fire escapes. Now,
My husband needs that.
I know. This was with a woman who had horrible anxiety and was like, how do I get out of this 80th floor apartment?
Slide.
I'm going to make an escape. Yeah. Okay, this is the one. Windshield wipers. Of course we did. Of course we did. Because have you ever had a bad windshield wiper?
It's
or
the worst. Like when it gets icy too, or there's particles of a tree that get stuck and then it leaves one line, and that one line as it goes back and forth is always in your side of vision. It's never on the other side. It is always on the driver's side of vision, and you got to reach your hand out the side of the window and flick it, as it goes by. You got to
catch it right in time for it to.
Yeah.
I know. And laser printers.
Oh, that makes everybody's life easier.
Oh my gosh. Everybody at Google, everybody in Silicon Valley right now, you know who they have to thank? A woman. Yes. Yeah. So you're welcome.
Empowered. I feel empowered this morning. I can die of laughter, and women are accomplished. What can we say?
Yeah. I know. It's great. You're welcome. It's a good one.
Man, that is a good one. Well, Steph, the last few weeks, we've had the best time sharing some of our favorite things, our airport etiquette, things to do, not to do. We've shared our opinions, the good and the bad, and holy macaroni, we have some strong opinions. Yeah. We've also laughed. We've laughed a lot in the last few episodes, but anyone who has really hung out with either of us know that we love to laugh.
It's my favorite thing.
It is.
I know. So to stay true to the message of this podcast, sharing life as a trusted friend, the good and the hard stuff, today we're going to dive back into our experiences and our feelings. Again, we do not ever want to pretend like we are the experts. We are simply just two girls traveling this road of remarriage and redemption. We might be one or two steps ahead of someone listening, and we are just sharing our experiences. Again, we encourage you to insert yourself into the narrative. Your story may not be divorce. It might be a broken family, a broken friendship, a loss that is beyond our comprehension. Wherever you are in your journey, we just want to say that we hope to honor you with our conversation today and always. So today starts our second series, aptly named The Firsts.
It is aptly named.
It is. It's our second, but it's called The First. So it's a little tricky there.
And let me say, let me just say this real quick, that I know that we do laugh a lot on this and we sound, lighthearted. And the first series was definitely heavy. The redo series was definitely heavy. Yep. And this is going to have elements of being heavy too. But even as I was sharing with you earlier, going back and remembering some of these things, like some of my firsts back into singlehood, I haven't listened, thought of, or recollected any of those memories in a long time. So this stuff is hard. This stuff was honestly really heavy and really hard to put myself back into those situations, because as we've talked about before in previous episodes as well, it's just that the thing that holds you up and that holds you captive is your inability or your lack of desire to go back into those feelings and to heal from them. Yeah. And we can talk about this with somewhat seemingly ease because we've had to do that time and time and time and time and time again. And the more that you do it, the easier it does get. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't still affect you. And
oh my gosh, you're right. Like we said before on our other podcast, this conversation for us to get here on a microphone is 100 conversations just between the two of us, walking things out, talking things out, again, with counseling and all of those friendships and all of those things. So we are a little bit removed from that. But the other day, a series of songs came on my Amazon Music playlist, and 2 songs came on from my firsts. And really? It put me right back there where I remember all of those things. And so, it's like a song can do that. A scent can do that for me sometimes still. Yep. And so I think being able to talk about it, again, not knowing where our listeners are coming from, but to go, let's just talk about it. Let's feel it. Let's experience it. And then knowing that it won't hold the power over us, we get to own the power of that experience. Agreed. Right?
Yeah. So to recap, let's recap a little bit. Like some of your dating and you're married. Like how long? Just as a reminder, kind of as a recap, like I said, how long were you married and how long did you and your ex date?
Okay. So we started dating when I was 15 years old. Ooh. I know.
When you have all the answers.
Smartest person on the planet. Yes, that would be me. I just started my sophomore year of high school and was playing golf. And my dad played golf and we went to a country club where he worked. And that's where we started to get to know each other and started dating then. We were married for 21 years, dated for 4 years, married for 21. So an entire quarter century, this man was a part of everything that I did. So let me tell you, jumping back into single life, and then when we start talking about dating life, I was a hot mess express about it all. I had no idea. And I was also so wrapped up in mom life. And it was interesting and hard. So hard. So that's kind of my recap. Dated for 4 years, was a high school student, and got divorced when I just turned 40.
Yeah, my experience was dating for a couple of years in college. We met at the University of Tennessee. He was a football player. I was a basketball player. And we dated for 2 years collectively. Married for 5. I mean, legally. We were legally married for 5. Yeah. So, you know, collective total of 7. But that was just an entire life, not just lifetime, but life ago for me. Because the whole basketball theme, the whole, you know, being married to him, the whole living in the South, like all of that was not only just a completely different life, but also a lifetime ago for me.
Okay, so we're going to talk about this thing is that first single.
Yes.
So your first single year. So I'm going to let you just kind of jump in and get started on it.
I have nothing good to say, actually. This was just one horrible, humiliating, humbling, hard. We're going the 3 H's here. Humbling, humiliating, and hard. It was.
That's a great alliteration. Good
thank
job.
you. I was extremely rebellious. I wanted nothing to do with God. I wanted nothing to do with anything that was good. Like, I think I did, honestly, deep down. But there was so much that we've talked about previously of those erected walls of protection that were built around my heart. And it came out as though I was very boisterous. I was very proud. I was very loud, because that covered up my hurt and my insecurities. You know, I was very confused. I was outspoken. I moved to this expensive city clear across the country in Seattle, where I never paid over $600 for rent, maybe $1,000 for a mortgage. But in Seattle, you know, I had a 1-room house that was $1,700 for just the rent, you know, and that's the mean of expense. And so, like, again, like, I didn't have any money because I was retired. You know, I was done playing basketball because of my knees. I had no insurance. I had no money. You know, I was in the process of raising support. So there's like, there's this ex-pro athlete that just got out of a divorce, that moved across the country and has no one, that is living on unemployment. And it's just like this extreme transition of life that's like, who am I, Shauna, as somebody where all of your previous identity is stripped? I had family, I had friends, but there was nobody there, like face to face. But it was a choice that I wanted to make. Like, I chose that. I choose to move. I chose to live there. And I felt like that was the right move. And it was. Like, I knew I wanted to be there. But I found that I was becoming that girl that was extremely negative, that whenever people asked how you were, or whenever people asked about your story, it was like my opportunity to tell them how crappy my life was. And I don't want to be that girl. Like, nobody wants to be around that girl. It's one thing to be honest and transparent and answering questions, and it's another to like vomit all of your issues onto people. But again, that white knuckled girl that just straps your bootstraps tighter and just gets the work done. That was still me. So I was still go. I remember actually going back down. I was in Tulsa at the time, still trying out to play basketball. I didn't make it, but so I was in Tulsa, but I flew back to San Antonio where all of my stuff was in storage still. And so after going through the divorce, I had a couple of friends that were still there helping me through this, but I went through all of the stuff that was in storage of ours together. I picked out what was mine, loaded it back in the truck. I rented a 15-foot U-Haul truck, and I drove myself from San Antonio to Tulsa. And that was just me. And I just went, I just did it. And my friends were looking at me like, how can you do this? Like, what? That's a hard thing. And I'm just smiling. I'm just going about it. I drove 11 to 13 hours by myself in a 15-foot U-Haul truck. And the minute that I got the minute I got back to Tulsa, I just crashed for 2 days. Yeah. I mean, it just completely obliterated me. Because of the emotions, because of, you know, everything that I had yet to deal with. But just some examples of how very, very difficult season, very, very difficult time, and very lonely and very broken. Well,
I'm going to say my first year was about the same as crappy as it can get. Yeah. Same. The loneliness of going from a house full of, there was 6 of us that lived in the house, and I moved out in July. Our divorce was final in September, but because there was a lot of memories, there was a lot of history in that house, and it was a big house, and I could not take care of that on my own. And so I made the decision, had a couple friends really surround me in making that decision. So thankful. And so the little kids and we moved into an apartment and got settled in the apartment. And to tell you the difference of a big house, lots of people, lots of noise, even though it was so dysfunctional and ugly at times, there was still people there. Yeah. And that's all I had known. And then I went to this little apartment where I had street parking. I had to go in, carry my groceries up, walk my dog, all of these different things that I had no idea really and truly how to do it. And the loneliness was suffocating. So I would have it all together when I had the kids. And again, I was learning their schedule of on and off. And one of the things that kept me where I was because I still had them. I still got to be mom full time, even though this other segmented part of my life was a complete train wreck and getting unsafe more and more. And the kids were getting pulled into it more and more. I would be just the same me with them, and they would leave Tuesday at 5:00. I would fall in a heap on the couch. Mia Bella, my dog, would come in and stay right beside me. And I would be so numb, no feelings, a mess. And then they would come home Thursday at 7, and I would put myself back together and, have cookies ready for them or whatever that needed to look like. And I just tried my best, and it was exhausting. And one of the best things that I had from my attorney, my first attorney that I had, he said when we were making out schedules and it was all given to me. I did not create any of this paperwork or any of this stuff. It was given to me, and I just had to agree if I wanted it or not. And I was so done fighting. I was so done with all of it that I just wanted to be like, how can I make this pain of the divorce, of separating things, like you said, coming to my house and having to decide, like, what lamp do you want? What kitchen table do you want? All of that. I just was so over any of it. And how do I make this go away? Because every time I step into this pain, it literally puts me in a dark spot. I don't know how to navigate through this. And he said, here's what I want to tell you. Your first year in this, it's going to be painful beyond recognition, but you're going to be in such a fog that you really will not remember it. So let's set you up to be successful for your second year. So let's get you through this first year, knowing that it's like you are buckled in, that it's hard, but you will not remember a lot of this, and you're not going to be at your best self. Mm-hmm. So let's get you to the second year and set you up successfully. And I did not like him. You know that. You met him. I did not like him. Yeah. And but he did. And I don't think you're supposed to like your attorney. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Probably not your
it's
top
okay.
priority relationship.
No. But that was the wisdom that he gave me, that I remember thinking, this first is going to suck, but you'll be better at the second. Mm-hmm. And so that really was my motivation.
That's really good, actually. For someone that you hate, it's good advice.
I agree. Yeah.
How about your first holiday?
These weren't good. They just were not. Really, you are in a fog. And so one of the things that I am better at now, but again, we are 5 years removed from this. Yeah. But I still count down time that I have left, like when the kids are here, I still count down time I have left and then time I have without them. So it's always like the sand is always out of the hourglass for me, because I just miss them. I miss being that with them and creating those memories. So first holiday was, I had them for Thanksgiving. I had them at 8:00 on Christmas Eve night until 1:00 on Christmas Day. So I only saw it as this little segmented part of time. And that was the first year that I bought all Christmas by myself, had to set it out. And we were in our apartment then, and Tate said, "What do you think Santa wants for cookies and milk?" And I said, "I'm going to tell you. I think it's going to be Mrs. Claus this year who makes your delivery." And so she would like a little zip of Chardonnay and a sugar cookie. That's what she would like. Please don't ask me to put milk out.
See what you did there.
Yeah. And so we did it in a sparkly wine glass, a little bit of Chardonnay, and I had a cookie. And so I made it work. Yeah. I did not love it. And I will tell you, my second Christmas where I had them Christmas Eve day, but I did not see my kids Christmas morning, I asked God so many times to take me. Like, yeah. I don't want to wake up. I don't want to be a part of this. I don't want to do this day. So it still was hard. And it still has this, a little bit of reverberation in I remember that, and I don't love it.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be so hard.
How about you?
This was the worst for me. Holidays, the firsts for holidays was by far the worst, because as it is for a lot of people, the Christmas season to me is just the most family-oriented, fun, lighthearted. You just eat, you play games, and it is all about family. And that is something that I really, as I get older, I really look back and I can appreciate probably the most that my mom specifically has done for my brother and I, where she just made Christmas magical, like absolutely magical, from the setting up to the tearing down of decorations in the house. And it's just something that he does, my brother does with his kids exponentially, and that I want to do for my kids one day too. It's just make that so special. And so when I went back, which is always my non-negotiable of going back for Christmas every single holiday season, but when I went back, it was so hard. I just couldn't keep it together. I cried every minute almost of every single day. And I remember one time in particular, something happened to my Amaya. Like, she was my little niece was maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 at the time. And something happened to her, and it just got me. Like, it just struck me, because I was just dealing with a lot of things, and I wasn't speaking about it at the time. And we were all sitting at the table playing cards. And I remember just excusing myself and going upstairs into my bedroom. And I just bawled. I just lost it. And I remember my dad, who my dad is not the the emotionally or socially aware gentleman, but is a good dad. And I was always a daddy's girl growing up. And I was at this time 28, 29. I mean, I was a grown woman. But he just runs upstairs after me, and he just grabs me in his arms. And he just lets me cry on him. And the thing that broke me at that time was I said, "Dad, don't let Amaya grow up. Like, just do not let her grow up and experience life." Like, it still gets me emotional now just thinking. Yep. Because it's just such a special time in the holiday season, but when you see, as you have a daughter, and other people have kids, and you want to protect them from the hurt that life has to offer, and there's really no other season throughout the course of the year that really brings up those hurtful emotions than the holidays, because it's supposed to be so romantic and so endearing and so loving and blah blah blah. So little things like, not little, but things like that, or because we love to play games, like, I was always the third wheel now, or the fifth wheel. So, like, I didn't have that partner. Something simple when you played games together, and that was just a very, I remember that being the absolute worst. It was the first holiday after becoming single.
I remember I was working retail cosmetics that first year, and families would walk by, and the 2 occasions where one was a dad was walking by with a little girl, no mom in sight. And I wanted to go tell that little girl, he's probably really mean to your mom. That's why she's not here.
Is he?
I know. And
I get it.
Allie, my very best friend, she was like, I am so concerned that you are talking with the public right now because you are not okay.
Yeah, don't say that out loud.
I was like, I know. So, and thankfully she's at a safe place where I could tell her stuff. And the other occasion was when couples would walk by holding hands. Yeah. And I would be like, again, because you and I remember when we went out and I'm like, don't do it.
Don't do it.
It still stayed with me. And I would be like, this isn't going to work. It doesn't matter how many years you have invested. He's going to be mean to you. It's not going to work. Get out now.
Remember
Save yourself.
Didn't we anticipate going to Mexico on vacation, riding jet skis and going by different weddings that people have on the beach and yelling out, don't do it! Like specifically renting jet skis for that purpose. I remember that. Mm-hmm. It's true though. It's true. I mean, we're dark. We were in a very, very dark place.
Oh gosh.
It's like, I think that's where, honestly, like that's the premise. That's what really has birthed this. Obviously, we've communicated that, this desire for this podcast, but it's like, if we only knew when you got into things, not that I would not have gotten married. I don't feel like I made a mistake when I got married the first time. I really don't.
Right.
Like, it was not on me. It was not my fault that he acted the way he acted and did the things he did. He was in full control of himself at that time.
Right.
But the things that followed after that, like to help people prepare for what that's going to be like, how it's going to feel, what to do, what not to do. Just trust us on this.
Yeah. So, actually, I have one of my best friends is just walking through this very first stage of divorce and her firsts. Mm-hmm. And she sent me a text and said, I was not expecting this to hurt today like mm-hmm. this. And so I just was able to send it back and say, I only know how it felt for me. And I'm going to give you just what I have. And, and so again, it is one of those things. Little did I know mm-hmm. that it was going to wreck me here, where I thought the hardest part was, doing the divorce papers, what I actually know. You just end up with a whole lot of paper, but then you have to walk through some things that really is beyond what you know.
Yes. And divorce, broken heart, out of a relationship, you just got fired, you just lost a child. Like you said at the very beginning of this episode, like there's all different varieties that stir and create these emotions. The emotions themselves do not change. The circumstances that cause those emotions change. And how that's going to look for us and how that's going to look for other people. The situation is probably not going to be the same. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But it's the emotions that come out of that. Like the hurt, everybody feels hurt. Everybody feels rejection. Everybody's felt betrayal. Everybody's felt in different capacities. And so like these exact examples probably aren't going to be cookie cutter for everyone. But holy moly, like when you get into a place where you are feeling those types of emotions, you're not alone. And you feel alone. You feel isolated. You feel like nobody has any idea what you're going through. But that's not true. Like, that is not true at all. Everybody has experienced it. It's voicing that hurt, making it known so other people can come around you and support you. And that is what we're trying to do with this. Like, I don't want people to stay single all your life. If you want that, go for it. That's awesome. If you don't want that, go get married, and we want to help you establish how to get back on the horse and go get married, right?
Right.
But there's so many things, like you do what you want to do, but our hearts is that you are healed and that you are free from what has been binding you in the past.
And maybe even just take it one step into that too, to say, let's recognize where shame comes in and covers you of the choices that you made or whatever, and it almost, for me, I was cloaked in the shame of it because I was the one who said, this is enough. I want the divorce, and I, in turn, what I was really doing was saying that I'm okay to be a part-time mom. So that was on me.
Yeah.
Even though those were just past things that happened with my first decision. So I had to own that, but I didn't have to walk in the shame of that, where I even had people say, well, that's the decision you made, so you have to walk in that.
Which that's not helpful.
No, No,
like, you know,
not
that
at all.
So if that's you and you're the one giving advice to people, not you, Stephanie.
Right. Thank
those
you.
listeners. If that is you and you're the one that's casting those judgmental comments, stop it.
Yeah.
That's not helpful.
It's not. And so what does that look like of not living in that and finding the freedom, finding your power in that, but still knowing you still have to have those feelings. Mm-hmm. They just don't have to be cloaked in the shame of all of that. So what about the first anniversary?
This is up there.
Your wedding anniversary.
Yeah, this is up there with first holidays. And this is probably the one that's prolonged the most. Because October 14th, 2006 is when I got married. And I'll never forget that date. I'll never forget the memories of the wedding. I'll never forget wedding night. I'll never forget any of that stuff. And this has gone on for 4 or 5 years probably after that. I think last year was the first year that I didn't even remember. Yeah. That, like, the entire day of October 14th, it was just another day to me. I didn't but the memories are always there. It's just the effect in which it affects you, right? Like the level that you feel that. But those 4 or 5 years, whenever October 14th rolled around, was just dark. It was heavy. I felt extreme depression. I would lock myself in the house, and I am not one that is quiet, and I'm not one that that just stays inside and doesn't do anything, you know, but that just wrapped itself around me and forced me down onto the bed. Like it just shut me up. It put me in it. I would just relish in all of these memories and the things like, yeah, what did I do wrong? Like what was my part in this? And what could I have done differently? It plays all these what if scenarios that also are not helpful because what's done is done. And I wouldn't change what I did. And I wouldn't change the way I went about it. I wouldn't, regardless of what he or his family might think. Like, that's not for me. This is my choice and my decision. And I felt right about how I went about it. But it doesn't make it any easier. Like you said, going back to that shame thing. But this was extremely hard because, yeah, I was relishing in the whys, the what ifs, the what could have beens, all of that.
The year that we were separated and still married, my anniversary had me at the Apple store trying to dig into my computer and my phone because some really dishonest things had been happening, and I was trying to undo that. And I remember sitting at the Apple store going through things, and the guy was asking me a lot of questions, and I was like, wow, like 21 years ago, if somebody would have said, guess where you're going to be in 21 years, you know, it's going to fall apart. There's going to be so much dishonesty happening that you're going to have an Apple interrogator go through your computer and your phone. I was like, what in the world? So in the way that God chose to redeem that, my very next anniversary was the day that I graduated from aesthetic school.
Amen, sister.
And I didn't even put it together until I was walking out, and I was like, it's April 3rd, and last April 3rd, woo, that was ugly. And then you are like, this is where that day got redeemed for me. And just super cool, you know? So I don't hold a lot. It has one of those memory holds on me where I remember 4:00, we got married, but found some redemption in that. My divorce anniversary is September 4th, September 4th, one of those days. So that first couple days in September, I didn't love. But again, last year was the first time that I didn't think about it. I didn't think about my first wedding anniversary. I didn't think about my divorce anniversary. And it was just, I found some freedom. It didn't have a hold on me that you said, like, puts you in a dark place and makes you go back and revisit those things. Yeah.
The one thing that I want you to really hit on, this next one, obviously I'm not going to have much to say on it, but I think it's going to be very helpful for a lot of people is hitting on your first child, like the first child's event, like the graduation, birthday, school events. Like, what was that like for you?
I would say, honestly, these are the hardest. These are no fun. When we got divorced, Taylor was in college. Tanner was starting his senior year. Tucker was starting his freshman year and Tate was in elementary school. So those two big kids, my middle kids, had big starts to their year. And again, guilt and shame over all of that. The hardest relationship was Tanner in my relationship. And he was angry and just, he was a senior in high school, and just, it was really, really terrible, to where I sat in his graduation. I did see him right before, so I was able to see him in his cap and gown, but he stood me up at his graduation dinner. He did not show up. He did not want to have a graduation party, understandably. And I have never felt like more of a fraud of a mom. I felt like an imposter mom. Yeah. When he had his name called, and Allie and her family went with me. Those are the only people that really and truly stayed by my side. So close, where it says like, you have a friend that's as close as a sibling, that's Allison for me. And she and her family showed up, stayed right beside me, and she held my hand when they called Tanner's name, and I had silent tears. Like, there was no, the emotion went so deep that I did not love that at all. And we sat through his dinner at the restaurant in about an hour, and I just said, he's not coming. He's just not going to. So I want to wrap this up and I want to go home. Like, I'm done. I'm just done. So I would say, out of anything that killed me was his graduation. And then on birthdays, we make it work. But those first birthdays, I think anything that's attached to my kids has hurt me so far deeper than, and like Tate's first gotcha day, I think would probably be my hardest time, where I remember everything about that day and I didn't have her that day. And I felt really cheated out of being a mom. And those are the moments where I have said, where I felt like almost like God was punishing me and he was mad at me. Was big moments did not fall on my time, and there was no give and take of time.
How did you reconcile that? Because I think that would be a very common emotion and feeling when we have an improper view of God, of his heart, of his character. And easy to feel that, easy to think that. It looks obviously like that, but that's not the truth, right? And I know you know that.
Right.
So how have you worked through and even reconciled that to get back to the truth? And what did that look like for you?
So it really was counseling, a whole year of counseling, where I had a faith-based Christian counselor who counseled both of us. So she was very well aware of what was going on and saw both sides of it. And so then when it just became my turn for myself, walked me through a lot of giving me a perspective of our human response to something like that is very much like, you're mad at me. I spent my entire childhood, teenage, young married life always apologizing to clear the air, to make things better. And she said, you do not have to apologize to God. He is not standing in that posture over you. And so she got me to a place to say, even when in the best case scenario of God is to say, he is a better reflection of the dad you have here on earth. Like you said, my dad is a good man. He loves me. He is the best dad. And so when you can say, God loves me as even a better dad than what I've been loved by, that's mind-blowing.
Right.
My reflection of a dad is dismissive, only shows up on certain times and doesn't give anything willingly, emotionally, very detached. So that's my representation of what a dad is. And so then I magnified that even into how God saw me was.
Absolutely.
Well, I definitely didn't perform that. I definitely disappointed him. And you know what? He actually has every right to not come back in my room and say goodnight to me because he is really mad at me. Mm-hmm. And so to where we had to like dig into scripture, dig into truths to say, that's not it. He actually loves you like this dad that you wish you had. He actually does love you like that. Yeah. And so when you see yourself as this little girl who has always been saying, please look at me, please choose me, I'm doing the best I can, to where God's like, I always have. And so I had to get to that point where what was missing here on earth, God has supplied for me through him.
Oh, I love that you said that and that you shared that, Steph, because I think that hits so many people's hearts, even more than those that have a good dad, that have had a good example of a dad. Because unfortunately, I feel like there's such a larger percentage of people that don't have a good example of a dad.
Right.
And the magnitude, the role of a man in a child's life, that is an impact that you don't have a word for in the English language or in any language, because that is the direct, like you said it, that is the direct representation of God. Mm-hmm. So your idea of who God is the first ideas, the first way that you start formulating ideas, in addition to reading scripture, if you are of faith at any extreme.
Right.
Those first ideas are all predicated on your example that your father shows you. I just appreciate you sharing that, because it has so much weight and it has so much value for people to say, yeah, I can really relate to that. Because maybe that's why I look at God the way I do. Or maybe that's why, but like, let's get back to what the truth is. Like, let's not stay in that dysfunctional view of who God is. Like, let's get back to what the truth is. And like you said, he's always been there. He's always been there with his arms wide open.
Yep.
And he's like, I didn't break stride. You broke stride.
Right.
But
absolutely.
I don't care what you did. I don't care what's been done. I care, but I love you regardless. So come back.
And that has the one thing that even when I have been mad or I've been rebellious or have just kind of strong-armed, is there, I still hear his whisper. He has not let me go so far to where I don't even hear that. That honestly would scare me to the point of, I think I would physically die. I would say, as we wrap this part of the conversation up, is even if divorce and dating and single life is not part of your story, I think that we can all say that there's been something that we have done and something has happened to make a shift in life, to make you say, I've got to go back out and restart. If it's been a job, if it's been a loss of any kind of magnitude, a friendship, anything to where it has made you have to go back in and start all over, is to say, love yourself enough to do it, to do the hard work of that. And there is a vulnerability there, but there are rewards to that as well. Feel the emotion, experience it. Don't numb out from it. So if you're mad, be mad. If you're sad, be sad. If you're going to deny it, be in denial. If you're going to, all of those things in the grief cycle, feel those. Don't numb yourself. Don't push past it too fast, any of those things, because that's where healing comes from, is you have to feel it and then you get to move past it. Life is very strategic on, if you have not felt that yet, it's going to come back around for you to feel it at some point. You cannot shove it away. You cannot push it down so far that it doesn't come out, that we don't get to heal it, feel it, and then heal from it. And so whatever it is, let yourself feel those emotions. And so if you're not ready to start out on something new, if you're not quite ready, take some time for you.
Right. I totally agree with you. And in addition to what you said is, again, if you are that person that is telling people or is a trusted friend that people confide in, and you're saying, you can't feel that, you can't say that, you can't go there, gracefully, gently, may I say, like, you're wrong.
Right.
Because you have to allow people to go there and do that. And like you said, you will overcome it. Don't let them stay there. But also, in the right timing, you go seek help, seek counseling, seek freedom, all of those things. Because if you force it, and if you go too fast, and if you listen to people's like, I can't feel this, I have to go get help, I have to go do this, I can't sit in this for the however long time I need to. Mm-hmm. If you go too quickly and you're not ready to work through those emotions, it actually does more harm than it does good.
Absolutely,
it actually
100%.
Hurts you more when you're not ready. So you have to go through all those stages. You have to go through the emotions. But like you said, you just don't get stuck in that, and don't get stuck in that deep, dark pit.
Okay. Whew. That was a lot of emotions. We had a lot of feelings in that. So I think we wrapped that up pretty nicely. So what we do on every one of our episodes is we talk about, so where are you winning and where are you losing in this story of life?
Well, this past week, I want to say where I'm winning. Two things. I spoke last weekend, and it's been a long time since I went out and I spoke, but there's some type of adrenaline rush. There's a high. There's just that feeling that it's something that I'm created to do. Yep. And I just love it. So I was reminded again how much I genuinely love to speak and just share truth with people. And the second one is, I think I found the bike that I want to get. I know.
Really?
I know. It was one of those moments where it's like the stars aligned. I saw it. It was love at first sight. I wrote it and I was like, you're mine. So when it gets a little bit warmer. Okay, where I am losing, dadgummit if I didn't get pooped on by a bird this past week.
No, you didn't.
I was walking my dog and there was this blasted crow up on the wire, and Uzi always goes nuts when she's seeing these birds. And so I hear this like, and I'm like, I look down and it hit the back end of Ooze and her tail, and I'm like, oh man, Ooze, I'm sorry, you just got crapped on by a bird. And I'm kind of like joking with her as we're going back, because we have conversations. And I look down on my coat when I get back to the house, and I'm like, holy crap, I got crapped on too. Just like, at that moment, I wrote it down in my notes. Lose this week, got pooped on. How about you?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm full of wins. Full of wins. And I think it's because I spent a glorious weekend on the beach, in the sun, in the sand, in the ocean. And I'm telling you, if that does not cure a multitude of things, it does.
I'm so happy for you.
Yeah. So everything, I'm just kind of like, I'm kind of skipping through right now. So win, 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 win.
Win, win, win.
Win, win. Where I'm losing, and I'm going to say this real loose because whatever, this weather in Kansas City.
Yeah.
I walked back up on the jetway.
'Tis the season.
And, oh, dear Lord in heaven. We're going to have another snowstorm this week.
Again?
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeez.
Whatever.
Let's just move.
I know. I really want to. So I have decided that I am going to also season, and I'm going to season in the winter down in Naples, and, probably season in the summers up in New England. I don't know.
Perfect.
But
perfect.
Anyways, not a complaint over here at all.
Okay. Well, that's good. I'm glad that's the space that you're at today.
I know. Yay. Thank you. It feels good.
How about a little did you know moment for the week?
Little did I know that on an airport delay, you can kill 2 birds with 1 delay. Okay?
Okay.
So not only was I delayed on Friday, but I walked 5 miles. I got in like 14,000 steps. I was so proud of myself. And I also fell in love with a new pink MAC lipstick. And so thank you, Houston Airport, for having MAC there. I got a hydrating spray and a pink lipstick, and I just was all about myself. So little did I know, a delay. Who said delay?
See, this doesn't surprise me because I'm one of those people that's like, why is this MAC store in this airport, and do you really ever get clientele? And then there is my friend Steph.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, I have been here past my threshold of patience. So what is going to make me happy? And I'm counting points for Weight Watchers. So it wasn't eating a chocolate chip cookie, which is typically, or drinking a cocktail, which is typically what I would have done. So
True.
I got a banana, walked my steps, found a pink lipstick. Perfect.
I'm proud of you.
Mm-hmm. And also, just to add, there were people in front of me and behind me at the Mac. I was not the only customer that day.
Okay. Well, enough said.
I wasn't. Okay. So what about you looking back through this week? And you said, little did I know.
Yes. Little did I know for me this week was the people that we would meet in Antoine's academy class in his fire department. I shared with you that there was a guy there who was a local from Hawaii. Like, he is native Hawaiian, and he lived on the big island of Kona. And so he and Antoine just immediately connected, and it made my heart melt because I was so happy for him. Mm-hmm. But then he said, "Hey, brah, the aloha is like from within." And I was like, oh, I just forgot how much I love that. And he and his wife, they have 3 daughters, and they have poke night Thursdays. So they actually go, I didn't know this, but every Thursday morning, Costco has fresh ahi tuna. Costco does.
You're so happy.
And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going Thursday mornings. Like, I'm going to be there when it opens. But they make their own, season their own poke, and they have poke night Thursdays. So one day we're going to indulge.
I'm going to tell you, from a landlocked Missourian, I thought you said poker. Like poker night.
Oh, okay.
I didn't realize
That's fair.
You said
poke,
which is tuna.
Is
fish.
tuna.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
I mean, it's multiple types of seafood.
Okay.
It's raw, but it's seasoned, and it's so good. You have little seafood salad in there, and then you have it on rice, and it sounds disgusting until you try it. So it's one of those. Don't knock it until you try it if you are landlocked people.
Okay.
But it's the huge out there.
I love it. Good. And so sweet. I just love how the perfect timing.
Yep. It truly is.
Love it.
It truly is, my friend. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation today, and I hope other people did too. I think it's very helpful, very beneficial. Not always easy.
No,
but
not
it's
at
good.
all.
But it's good.
Yeah. Well, we just want to thank you for joining us on the Little Did I Know podcast. I am Stephanie Parks, and you can find me at Steph K. Parks on Instagram, Stephanie Parks on Facebook, and StephKParks.com.
And you can find me, Shauna Zolman-Mihaly, on Facebook and Instagram as well. And again, thank you for your ratings. Thank you for your comments. Please don't forget to do that. We love your 5-star support rates, so keep it up, our friends. Keep that up.
Sharing is caring. Thanks, friends. We'll see you next week.